Hi, this is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to another edition of Friday with Sandy's. We have a great candidate. He's a senior who's looking to apply to deferred MBA admission programs, including Harvard 2+2. He's an econ and finance major with a great GPA, 3.92. He's got a great job lined up for himself at BlackRock, a highly selective financial firm. He's also done an internship as an analyst at Merrill Lynch. And he's applying the Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, and Chicago Booth. Sandy, what do you think?
I think there's a lot of stuff to like here. Have we seen Abdou yet? Abdou, could you introduce yourself? Say hi to everybody.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Abdou. As John mentioned, I'm a senior at the University of Cincinnati, double majoring in economics and finance, and I'm very excited for this handicapping. Hopefully, my ego.
Could you tell us a little about your background? One important thing is you're not a United States citizen, right?
Yes, I am not. I was originally born in Ethiopia, but my parents are Sengalese nationals. My dad worked at the United Nations, and that's what brought us to America. So currently, I am actually a DACA student, so I'm kind of in a weird limbo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. As I keep telling people, that background is very powerful as a story, okay? What you are not legally is a underrepresented minority. By the way, the schools count that. To do that, you have to be an American citizen. It's not, the schools don't decide this, the federal government does. So when schools report to the federal government what their URM number is, that's US citizen. So for all the folks out there, that's a tidbit you should know. To be an underrepresented minority, you've got to be African American, Hispanic surname, and I'm maybe leaving out something, and a US citizen. So
let me just say, and while that's very important in college admissions overall, because obviously that increases your odds, because there's not enough of underrepresented minorities, particularly in business school. The fact is that Senegal and Ethiopia are target countries for many elite MBA programs who want more Africans in their MBA programs.
Totally agree. We all agree about that. So we got that fact straight. So you come from a target country in Africa. Where'd you grow up, and when did you come to the U.S.?
Yeah, so I had a pretty interesting, I guess, growing up. So because of my dad's job, I was fortunate to travel to a lot of different countries. So I lived in Ethiopia for a couple of years, and then the Ivory Coast, and then Guinea-Bissau, and then back to Senegal. So I've lived, I think, in 4 different countries outside of the U.S. So I've kind of had the pleasure to.
Where'd you go to high school?
Yeah, I went to Coleraine High School. It's based out of Cincinnati. So we moved to New York originally to be closer to the UN. And then once my dad's mandate ended, we then moved to Cincinnati. So I've spent a majority of my life in Cincinnati. It's in the Midwest, Ohio.
Yeah, good. John, tell him what he should stress for purposes of applying to schools about that background.
Well, I think he should talk about his family's journey to America and what that meant to him. Also, I think what it means to be a DACA student, frankly.
Yeah, good point.
That's very topical. It's very important. To me, it makes you more desirable. It doesn't politicize your application at all. It just makes me more empathetic toward your current position.
Yeah, okay, you got a lot going for you. You're a totally likable guy. You've got a great story. You got a 3.92. What's the
bad news?
Not bad news. What does he got to do?
He's got to get a better standardized test score. Right now, Abdou is not yet sat for an exam, but in his practice exams on the GRE, he's
getting really low scores. Oh. So he's got to get it up there. Yeah. The GRE. Here's a question for you, John and Abdou. You're taking the GRE because maybe you're thinking of applying to other schools that require the GRE, or why don't you take the GMAT?
Yeah. So what kind of initially pushed me towards the GRE was that I suffer from sometimes test anxiety. So having the option to even go back, even though you don't go back, but having that option, I found that kind of calms me down a little bit, and it seems a little bit more manageable. So that's kind of one of the reasons why. And also with the GRE, it gives me a broader set of possible options beyond an MBA. So maybe I want to get something in political science or.
I like the latter answer better, and I would say because your father worked at the UN, that perhaps you may consider a public policy degree, and you wanted the option to pursue that in the future.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was getting to.
The percent of the 2+2 class that takes the GRE, John, Sandy knows this, but how good a guess are you?
I would say I'm going to guess that at Harvard, it's probably 20% now.
Wow, this guy is an intuitive genius. I have to look all this up. Yeah, it's 20%. Do you think it makes a difference?
GMAT versus GRE, not at Harvard. I think at Chicago Booth, it may make a difference. That's the only school where I think there's still internally a slight bias to the GMAT, even though they accept the GRE.
Yeah, okay. We trust your views on those things, John, since you visit these people and get out of your house and you know other.
I get around, man.
You're my only connection to this industry. You and my clients. So I'll take your word for it. Good.
So what kind of score should Abdou?
80% on both sides. I don't know how that works out, what the number is, but you can look it up. That's where 80% on both sides is where if they otherwise like you, and they will because you're a likable guy, they'll ignore their GR, they'll ignore their score.
Also, he's got a 3.92 in econ and finance. The job at BlackRock, sorry. That makes up for some quant points.
Yeah, you've got quite a lot going on here. How did you wind up at I think you mentioned this, University of Cincinnati? Your family settled in Cincinnati, or what are you doing?
Yes, we did. So kind of the decision to go to college at UC was based on my family's background. So though my dad had a job at the UN, he never had a formal college experience. Things work a little different back home. So being a first generation college student, when I was making the decision to go to college, and at the time, it was either go to UC. UC was pretty much the most challenging option I had because of my family's resources. It was either go to UC or go to community college. So I took the more challenging route and went the UC route, and was also able to stay close to my family and support my mother when she needs it and my other siblings. So that was kind of the biggest reason why I did that.
And I'm going to tell you, that's a totally acceptable reason. There's a real feeling that people like you are very close to their families, and they don't want to go away for college. That's a really important point because it resonates with admission officials.
Yeah. So that's kind of the driving force behind it.
Plus first gen.
Remind us all who the admission official we're talking about is.
Well, at HBS, it would be Chad Losey.
2+2.
Oh, 2+2, of course. The famous, legendary D. Leopold.
Yes. SK Hearts DL. DCL. Okay, let's get back to.
Hey, one more thing. Why do you want an MBA? Because we didn't talk about your post-MBA goals. Yeah, and I think your goals are kind of tricky on some level.
Yeah. So I guess my goals kind of connect to my background. So growing up in Africa and seeing the level of poverty that's there and seeing how much people struggle. So kind of being in an investment field, what I hope to do and we'll get exposure to at BlackRock is private equity infrastructure, which is basically where you do investing in, build power plants, bridges, and that's what Africa and Senegal needs the most. So my hope is that at BlackRock, being there I'm hoping to do the more 2+4. So being at BlackRock for 4 years, getting that exposure, getting that brand recognition, and then going to an MBA program to learn how to actually be a leader and how to connect with people who have similar ambitions, and then mixing that with the technical skills I'll learn to eventually go to an infrastructure equity firm and then start doing infrastructure investing in emerging markets, specifically African emerging markets.
Now, you won't work in the PE arm of Blackstone when you join there, right?
So it's interesting. So I'll be working.
BlackRock.
Oh, sorry. I keep getting them. I always get them confused.
Rocks and stones, right? So the team I'll be working with pretty much creates portfolios of alternative assets. So we work directly with the PE team.
Okay,
So,
and that's good.
yeah. So I'll be getting exposure to private equity, infrastructure equity, hedge funds, all that good stuff.
Sandy, you know about the whole thing. I mean, you've mentioned this yourself many times. When people say they want to work in PE, it immediately raises a red flag, because what they think of you is they think of you as a guy who's only interested in making a lot of money. But here you go. You're going to have
God forbid. Yeah, but I agree with you. I know what you're saying. This guy's got a clever reason.
He's got a great
Going
reason.
after the gold.
Fantastic reason, and you're going to be in a good place to get experience, which will set you up for a PE job later on.
This is you got a solid story, man. Just make it easy for him.
Yeah.
Study for the GRE. Okay.
Make it easy for them to accept you.
Yeah.
Make sure you give yourself the time to take the test a few times. Study for it hard. It will mean a lot for you. Okay, it really will.
I think it could mean it might help with scholarship. I assume you're looking for that too,
Yes,
right?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another reason. Look, man, you're going to Harvard Business School one way or the other, either as a 2+2 admit or in the due course. 2+2 is just really hard. You're an extraordinary candidate, but there are a lot of extraordinary candidates. I think your chances of getting into 2+2 are, real good, like 40, 50%. And if that doesn't happen, you should get in as a regular applicant.
That's
You know,
exciting.
even if you work, you graduate, then you're at BlackRock for 3 or 4 years, you apply in your 3rd or 4th year, you'd be a very powerful candidate. So my only advice to you, and you got a great story, and you're a mature, likable guy. So it all adds up.
Thank you.
All right.
Do him a favor, get the GRE.
Yeah, totally. You've got to
That's a
really
big thing,
focus on it. Spend a lot of time. Be very disciplined about getting a really good score. First gen, Africa background, 3.92, BlackRock job with exposure to PE. You're golden, man. You better get a good standardized test score.
Yeah, I'll start studying as soon as you get off the call.
All right, Sandy. Hey, thank you so much.
Adios.
Abdou, good luck to you, and for everyone else out there, good luck on your journey to a great business school. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Fridays with Sandy. Bye.
Adios, amigos.